and good day. I trust that you're having a wonderful, beautiful day today. In my city, of course, it's raining and I love it. It's interesting how the rain can make some happy and for others it can make them unhappy. Of course, I understand that that's because rain, in a sense, was used as a gloomy thing. So even when we were watching Care Bears as a young child, they would have Grumpy Bear, and they already were, in a sense, setting us up to how we would perceive rain, when rain itself is a divine addition to our world, the water that invigorates and helps plants grow. And often I think that a big reason why I have a lot of rain here is that, from my understanding, there's a lot of chemtrails and such that are released out into the world, and they're done for different reasons, introducing different things like aluminum and different metals and heavy metals into our world. And they perhaps also introduce femtotech, I think it's called, and nanotech into our world. And I won't go into too much detail about that, but I often think that the reason why there's a lot of rain is that this stuff is being cleansed from our world. So I am definitely grateful for the rain that my community receives, regardless of the gloominess that it perhaps presents to some people. See, many people don't know what's happening in the world right now. They know what's happening in their world, and that's kind of where the matrix or the simulation or the people who control the matrix, where they would prefer people to remain unaware and stuck in, well, whatever illusion that they're stuck in, and it's generally to do with low vibrational frequencies. See, for the past, I would say almost 3 years, maybe even longer, yeah, probably 4 years, I've had this encouragement, this voice, this guidance, a nudge on my intuition, and sometimes even a lot stronger, that I should create something, a podcast or a live stream. At that time, I wasn't even aware of what a podcast really was. And that's why, like, if you notice right now, we're sitting here watching Simba sit there. He's one of the Lego toys that my son and I put together from the Lion King. Yeah, we'll get into the Lion King later. However, this toy is just that, just a toy. And so I thought today that, knowing as I was seeing that a majority of the people who listen to me, that they are on mobile, at least that's what I'm told off of the YouTube analytics, although the YouTube analytics seem to constantly change different aspects of the analytics. Nonetheless, it tells me that most of the people who view me are viewing me on mobile. And so I know that the mobile filling the screen, it's on a vertical. So I've decided to put this particular video today because it suited this young lion, Lego lion, into filling the screen with his presence. And so, yeah, there's a lot of joyful aspects about this little tiger. I love cats. I feel that I'm of the lineage, perhaps, that came from the cat people, as I've come to understand it. And I'm not talking about the Lyrans, perhaps. I'm more saying that there was a story that I once heard, or that I have heard, about how the Atlanteans were experimenting on a group of beings, a group of Homo sapiens perhaps, that had cat-like DNA in them. And that after the destruction of Atlantis, that these beings actually made it all the way to the first Sphinx, and they met up with the survivors of Atlantis, the survivors of Lemuria, and that together they went on to form a new society, and this was pre-Egyptian. So I feel that somewhere in my lineage, perhaps, that is part of who I am. So I've always resonated very well with cats, just as the Egyptians had done themselves. If you know anything about Egyptian culture, the cats, and not only because the Sphinx, like the Sphinx is considerably older than the Egyptian Empire, considerably. And that's why this story of Egypt kind of, or this pre-Egyptian culture that resonated with cats truly resonates with me, is that I am aware that the Sphinx, the one that we all know today, which has been rudimentarily altered, has been there a long time, and a lot longer than the pyramids, or, well, even the second Sphinx. From my understanding, there is, or at least was, a second Sphinx constructed, and that it's a lot newer, or was newer, than the ancient one that's there. So anyways, today I celebrate cats by putting Simba, I think his name's Simba, up there to smile at you while I talk. So today I'm going to be doing something a lot different than I normally do. See, I normally worry, or not worry, that's the wrong word to use. I normally concern myself with how much I say, and if I say it right, or when I say it, or more importantly, that if I'm saying too much, because I look out into the world and I see, okay, well, doing one 15-minute video in a day, that might seem a lot for someone to not consume, but to appreciate. See, I personally listen to audios, different sorts of audios, from motivational to ones that teach me about stuff, to ones that empower me, to ones that inform me about world events, and ones that, like, comments and posts and different things of a healing journey. Anyways, I don't want to get too detailed into it. But nonetheless, I spend an awful lot of time listening to things and then thinking about them, contemplating them, reflecting them, like self-reflection. How does it affect me? How does it affect the world? And I do all of this because we are in a massive change right now. I just listened to a video this morning from Carrie Kay that she had posted today, and another one she had posted a couple days ago, and they're all reflecting upon the fact that Earth itself, our population, our civilization, our planet, like our reality, is essentially shifting. And this is a time like no other. See, there's many people who will get together, today being Sunday, so I say happy Sunday to everyone. There's many people who will get together on this day, and they're going to be in a state of fear. A fear because their books tell us the worst case scenario. Their books, some of them, they try to paint a picture of a God who is vengeful. And that, you know, I had someone say to me that God said, vengeance is mine. And I personally avoid reflections like that, believing that God is going to strike anyone down for doing anything, when all of this is at his or her, its source's bequest. And I understand that that's hard to understand, and yet I've come to see during the last few years of my healing journey that a lot of things happen, whether they're perceived as good or bad, as essential for our growth. They give us the darkness so that we can contrast our light, and the more, you could say, darkness that we stand against, the brighter our light appears. And reinforces our own, well, it reinforces our own light, really. And when I mean light, I mean that we are all beings of light. I see this as already has been essentially proven in mainstream science. A long time ago, they did an experiment, I think in like 1901 supposedly, where they showed that photons, and photons are little packets of light, that they can either be a photon, be a wave, express themselves as a wave, or they can collapse into a particle. And that this collapsing into a particle had to do with the observer. with the person or being that was observing what was happening. And well, these, perhaps you say, observations or these results of this experiment have been concealed from the mass public, it shows us or demonstrates that light, which we see from the sun, which we see from wherever, but a photon, which the word we've given to be a particle of light, can be matter. It can collapse into matter. And it depends considerably on the person observing it. And so that's where it goes into of how the words we say, the things we think, that those contribute to the collapsing of what we perceive as reality. And anyways, coming back onto the Carrie K videos, there's a lot of, I don't know, resonating information in there that talks about essentially the fact that we are coming to that end. See, there's always been an interesting thing, like, I'm sure many of you are aware of that Jesus' birthday was not on December 25th. That it was put there on that day for whatever reason, and there's many theories or ideas or possibilities of what that could be. Nonetheless, that the actual birthday was not on December 25th, that it was placed there for a reason. And one of those reasons, not in full detail, was that this particular time of the year, there's a lot of emotions or feelings that they would prefer to have covered up. And so they send us on this journey of buying and selling and decorating and celebrating. And, you know, the celebrating part is perfectly fine when you know what you're celebrating, when you know what you're actually doing. And often I've talked about the truth, and I truly do wish or desire or hope or request or ask or pray, whatever word we want to use, that the truth of this time be made completely transparent. Wouldn't that be wonderful if we lived in a world where everything was transparent, where truth was out there for us to understand? And yet that's kind of the interesting part of it, is that many aren't ready for the truth. Many people still resist. And I guess in a sense, even I, like every day I realize there's new things for me to understand, and I constantly add those ingredients to my batter, and I continually bake a new cake every day. And, you know, in a sense, that is what it is. Every day we are a new version of ourselves. So today I've decided, and this is kind of just an introduction to today, I want to talk about many different things. See, there's a lot, as I mentioned, that is happening. There's a war going on right now, for example, and it's not a war for in-ground assets or getting countries to agree or stopping someone from doing something with something. There's a war for our energy going on right now. There's a war for basically our souls. The war that's happening has been ongoing for a considerable amount of time. And we have been distracted by things we see on a screen. And let me tell you, most things you see on the screen, and I mean whether it's a movie, whether it's news, even alternative media, they're all put there for a purpose, to distract us from what's actually happening. And what's happening is, well, I'll leave that for you to find out yourself. I'm not going to project on you right now at this point in time, because that's not part of the discussion. But it's just the idea that there are things happening in the world, and when we choose to avoid those distractions that's being given to us, so binge watching something that you suddenly decide you want to watch on Netflix, or even watching something that has a violent frequency with no purpose to it. And there is so much media there that, you know, making us laugh at people who get hurt. Like I saw this ad where, or not ad, but this post of where they had an image of Jesus pushing or drowning Trump. And people thought that was funny. And right away, I recognized that that's another part of the Matrix trying to get us to laugh and be jovial and, you know, enjoy something, and like, in a sense, this word, like harming someone. And they want us to laugh about it. And that's truly what this whole Matrix and simulation has been this whole entire time, is a way to get us to damn ourselves, to harm ourselves, to hurt our souls, to essentially take actions that go against God's law. And God's law is love. And so things like hurting each other, gossiping about each other, harming each other, well, it essentially hurts us, because it continues the cycle of having to pay back a karma. Or maybe not karma is the right word for some people, because some people see that word as different. Throughout our, or even just my history, I've seen how things have been changed to meet a narrative. And one of the interesting things that I have come to understand is that even our religions and our spirituality were hijacked. They were taken to a place and fabricated a story to surround them to meet someone else's objectives. And so that's another thing that I want to talk about with you today. Now, I understand, and I guess in a sense, the reason why I'm going to do this is my experience or journey with YouTube has been one that's been very interesting. And this is going to be the last part of this particular stream. But I'm doing this because I actually would like help. Help from whomever, whatever, can assist me in breaking past all of these blocks that are on my channel. See, I often see, and I have seen this for quite a while, that I'll have a spike of views. A sudden group of people perhaps will start watching my videos, and then my channel will go flat. There'll be no views. I've seen it where I have a ton of views, but they give me no hours for the view time. And why this is important is not for the financial aspect. However, YouTube does require 3,000 to 4,000 hours to even monetize the channel. And so therefore, restricting the amount of hours viewed and basically lying limits the exposure of my channel, and therefore limits the exposure of the things that I have to say. So I would like you, whoever you are, to help share what I'm saying, because it's not just the things that I say, it's the vibration of us uniting. It's that what I'm saying is bringing us together, and it's sharing a ripple. See, I'm not here to share all the things that I think that I know. These are just my thoughts. These are things that I think about. The true teachers are people like Kimberly Gogan, Carrie Kay, and a few others that have truly inspired me to be more than I was and to grow, because each day we are a new version of ourselves. And as we all become more confident, stronger, we start to push away the limitations that have been imposed on us by different movies and different music. Like, music is such a limiting experience. And I'll explain what I mean by that, as I don't mean music as in a general, but I mean most of our music, for example, are low vibrational, sad songs. Country is a really good example of where they just keep repeating the same victim story. And they do it with a certain vocal frequency, which essentially pulls us down, and we get into that state of victim mentality. When I was working as a salesperson, I would often, in between customers, go into a room that had a lot of speakers, and I would put on all of these sad songs, and I noticed very quickly that my energy and just everything would go down. I would feel low. Yes, there are those songs that invigorate and inspire and that have high vibrational frequencies. Perhaps I'll get permission from this one gentleman in the community that I'm with to share his music, because he claims that he has recalibrated the frequencies within the music to bring us up. There's different frequencies like 432 hertz and 528 hertz and all these different frequencies that are supposedly put into the music that bring it up. But overall, things like any Taylor Swift song, any, well, most pop songs, even from one of my favorite songs of Bye 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 by NSYNC, there are frequencies put in there, or not even just frequencies, but concepts. And oh, he broke my heart, oh, she broke my heart, oh, we're just gonna like be upset about it forever, and every time that a car passes by I'm gonna get all sad and emotional again. And people don't understand that this energy is coming back into the body. And the body, if you went through a bad breakup, for example, and there's a song that's connected to that, and then you get into the space of, well, I'm going to listen to that because it helps me, feel comfortable or feel that the memory of that feeling. Well, what's happening is you're linking yourself back to that actual experience, to that trauma. And if you have yet to resolve it, then it's going to re-engage those feelings and those vibrations of the things that you felt when that happened. And then your body is going to release a whole bunch of different chemicals that's going to essentially bring you back to that point. See, there's a lot of things to do with time not being real and us living in a linear fashion. Well, that's how we perceive life. We perceive life as with forward momentum, each day going forward and the years counting down, and us living our lives, when in reality, as I understand it, the future and the past are essentially happening at the same time, that we're in a simulation experiencing something. And as I said before, I don't necessarily mean that everything around us is fake. The earth is real, I'm real. If you're listening to this, you're probably real, and I use the word probably. If you want to know more about what I mean by that, obviously go over to the GIA report and have a listen to any number of the hundreds of hours of reports that has been put across. Nonetheless, back to what I was saying. So, yeah, I'll leave it at there, because I hope that I can create these in smaller bite-sized packages so that they can be perhaps utilized in an easier way. And perhaps if I create a video that's an 85-minute video about food, which seems to be, I can't I'll tell you something about YouTube. I can actually, in a computer that's not connected to me, I have often put in new Earth creations with spaces in between, and you know how it auto-populates all the suggestions? Well, it will put everything in there except for my channel, even though my channel's called New Earth Creations. And so I was kind of harping a few minutes ago about, my experience with YouTube, with my channel, and even my Rumble channel. I have one video that has to do with AI, all things about AI, that I reposted from YouTube over to Rumble, and it, for 3 days, I haven't checked today, but it has 0 views. And every single video has a view, including the fact that I personally watched the video myself, and yet it still shows or reflects 0 views. So I want to end this video with what I was going to end it with, because I realize, full circle coming back. This is a message to any and everyone who can help. And I'm not just talking to you, the viewer. I'm not just asking you, could you please share the video? Because even if someone clicks on it, they might not watch it. But if someone clicks on it, for example, then the algorithm is more than likely or possibly to add perhaps more content, which is reflective of that viewer's desired algorithm of what they wish to view. Yet I'm also speaking to the deep state directly. I'm speaking to all of the people out there who are purposely working against me for some whatever reason to try to limit the reach of my message, the reach of what I want to say, the reach of truth, essentially. And not that I have all the truth, because this whole series is just about me going through or sharing with you the things that I'm learning about, the things that I'm becoming aware about, and together we can grow. So back to the request. I request that any operative, any deep state agent, any politician, any low vibrational being, any entity, any archon, any being that's trying to limit me, that is doing it for the purpose of a low vibrational approach, like a low vibrational effect upon me, whether it's negative or however you see it, to please stop and assist. Because this world could be considerably better if we were to end this opposition against God's will, God's choice. God wants to have the planet back. God wants to release the false light and the false darkness that darkness has used for such a long time in order to hold us back from the ascension that we are going through. And one of the amazing things that Carrie talked about in the video today is the ascension process is not just for the Homo sapiens. Like, that's one of the messages that I love from Carrie's message today, is that the ascension process is for everything and everyone and every being and all. And that would also include, in my opinion, any of the operatives who would perhaps choose to maybe have a different future outcome than the one that we're all staring at, because God already won. It's already happened. We're already witnessing the dissolution and the dissolving of so many different systems, and we're here right now to watch it firsthand play out. And so, with that being said, I feel guided just to share. And if you could assist me in sharing, and if that assistance comes simply from stop shadow banning my channel, I can see the pattern. I'm bold enough to say that this is what's happening. I've mentioned before that God protects my channel, and God does, because God protects me and God protects the truth. And therefore, if I'm only sharing what I perceive to be truth, not the end-all truth, only God knows the truth. And God for me also means source. God is the source of truth. God is the source of creation. And perhaps that's what I needed to do, is to shine that, how I perceive, my perception, shine that perception through to everyone and anything that's listening. And in my reality, everything is listening. So with that being said, thank you. Thank you to everyone and anyone, everything and anything, all the beings, whether of high or low vibration, for sharing their attention with me, because I see a better world for, most importantly, everything, but also for all of us that are listening to this, whomever you are. So thank you for sharing with me. And I hope, no, I don't hope, I know, I trust, I have faith that the world is going to get a lot better. And yet it's up to each of us to do our own maintenance of our own realities. So thank you so much for sharing with me. And I definitely foresee an explosion of interactions with my channel overall. And I'm going to be doing several broadcasts today, and I'll probably mention back to watch this particular one again. So I hope that I keep saying the word hope. But anyways, thank you so much on this beautiful rainy day, and may your day be amazing, and may God be welcomed home by everyone. Thank you.